get this thing rolling on a Friday. Glasses in session. We go to the Glasser guest line and check in with Shane Jackson, who joins us, web content writer for BetMGM. Make sure you guys give Shane a follow on X at SJacksonMGM. Shane, great having you back on the show, man. Want to talk some NBA futures with you, some MLB as well. But let's talk about NBA All-Star Weekend. We got things kicking off tonight out in the Bay Area. Any bets for you in the All-Star game? Any of these fun skills competitions that we have? Anything that you're doing there?
Yeah, I actually like two different bets from a betting perspective. The first being the dunk contest. I'm interested in fading Mac McClung as a minus 210 favorite. If he does win this weekend, he joins Nate Robinson as the only three-time winner in the dunk contest history, something I'm not sure the NBA wants considering he's a G League player. McClung said the other night that he's done with the dunk contest, win or lose, because he's running out of ideas. And I think that opens the door for new blood. And I like both rookies in this event. Matas Buzelis for the Chicago Bulls, he competed in a dunk contest in the McDonald's All-American game, and he posted a perfect score in his first round of the dunk contest of that game. And then there's Stephon Castle with the San Antonio Spurs. He gets the benefit of maybe doing a dunk with Victor Wembanyama, which will be a real crowd pleaser. So I could go either way of those two. I went with Buzelis, but I think you could just take the longest odds of both as a fade McClung kind of parlay, taking the field against McClung. As for the All-Star game, I really like the MVP market. I'm targeting a player on the team Shaq since they have a more favorable first-round opponent. And I'm taking Jason Tatum at 18-1. Tatum won the MVP in 2023, scoring 55 points. And he's kind of been disrespected in the past year. Not getting the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, not getting the NBA Finals MVP. His Olympic role was reduced. So I wouldn't be surprised if on an older team, the 26-year-old Jason Tatum is more equipped to deal with multiple games, and he's motivated to win this award.
All right, very good. A lot of good stuff there. Again, NBA All-Star Weekend kicks off tonight. Shane, we had you on the show last Monday, and we were reacting to the Luka and Anthony Davis trade. We've seen Luka in a couple games with the Lakers so far. Now that you've kind of seen Luka play with LeBron, obviously the landscape of the Western Conference, do you feel like the Lakers are a legit contender in the West?
Yes and no. I think the first two games with Luka dealing with his minutes restriction against the Utah Jazz showed both the upside and the downside of the Los Angeles Lakers. Upside-wise, they're one of the best offenses in the league. And I think you're going to be one of the best passing teams we've ever seen with Luka and LeBron. And those are two of the best playoff performers, so you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, I think that second game against the Jazz showed the downside, especially on the defensive end. Not having DFS, Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes dealing with an early injury. There's just a lot of things that show how vulnerable this team can be on the defensive side of the ball that I think a lot of things had to break right for them to make a deep run. So I would view them more as a second-tier contender, kind of similar to the New York Knicks in the sense that, yes, they're a very good team. They're going to be a lot of fun. I'm just not sure if I would put them on the Celtics or the Cavaliers or the Thunder inner circle of contenders.
Yeah, the Thunder's still the heavy favorite in the Western Conference. The Boston Celtics, who you bring up, Shane, they are the heavy favorites in the Eastern Conference. Still Boston for you? I know they've gone through a little bit of a rough slide here in the last month or so, but you still see them as the team to beat in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, I think them having minus 115 odds to make the playoffs at BetMGM tells us something. The Thunder don't even have minus odds to win the West, and they're the better team. So, I do think the Celtics are still the team to beat. I do think they will have to sweat a little bit more than they did last year because the Cavaliers are a real challenger. But other than that, I'm not sure. So I'm probably not interested in betting anyone other than the Boston Celtics out of the East. If you could do some more NBA Finals parlays, that's something I'd be interested in.
What about any NBA award markets that you like, right? It looks like SGA is going to win MVP. Kenny Atkinson probably going to win Coach of the Year. Rookie of the Year, Most Improved, some more competitive markets. Anything maybe you think where there's good value?
Yeah, the market I'm really interested in coming out of the All-Star break is the Sixth Man of the Year award. This is mostly biased because I did bet Peyton Pritchard 100-1 in the summer, and now I'm looking more for a potential hedge opportunity. Pritchard right now averaging around 14 points per game off the bench for the Boston Celtics, but that scoring has dropped to 11 points per game over the last 20 games. DeAndre Hunter now is with the Cleveland Cavaliers after being traded from the Atlanta Hawks, and he's averaging closer to 19 points per game off the bench, and he scored 18 in his second game for the Cavaliers as a reserve. And why that's all important is because this is really an award that goes to a bucket getter on a really good team. Over the last 15 seasons, the Sixth Man of the Year award has gone to a player who's averaged 17.5 points per game on a team that's averaged 52 wins that season. So essentially, you're looking for a bucket getter on one of the best teams in the league. Hunter checks both boxes now that he's a member of the best team in the East, and I think it's only a matter of time before he becomes the favorite. And the only real downside to him is that there's an injury risk. He has to stay healthy. He can't afford to miss many more games down the stretch. But I think it's going to be Hunter's award to lose before it's too late.
I like it, man. 100-1 ticket on Pritchard, Shane. That's pretty awesome, man. Hopefully that comes through for you. Great insight on the NBA. Definitely want to get some of your thoughts on Major League Baseball as well. We had pitchers and catchers report this week. Shane, we've been doing our MLB previews here on the show. We looked at a bunch of teams in the NL West. It's going to be a really good division yet again. Obviously, the Dodgers, heavy favorites to win the World Series. Padres are going to be good. I'm really high on the Arizona Diamondbacks this year. What are your thoughts on the NL West, and how many teams do you see making the playoffs out of that division this year?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed your NL West previews this week, and like you, I'm high on the Arizona Diamondbacks, and obviously you have to give the Los Angeles Dodgers the division there. So I think those two teams make it out of the NL West in the playoffs. This is more of a fade on the Padres than anything else. When I started my own MLB team previews, under 89.5 wins was the first bet I made for the Padres win total. This team really was, put it all together in the second half of the season. They were one of the best teams in baseball, maybe a World Series contender if they hadn't lost to the Dodgers in the LDS. But they did a lot of their success after the break. When they put together that elite bullpen at the trade deadline, people forget that this team was more of a 500 team that first half of the season, and now they've lost more than they've added this offseason. So I'm probably out on the Padres this year and would be looking to fade them even at their current win total. And then you just look around and do the math around the National League. I mean, 3 NL East teams, they got all better. And if you get another NL Central team, I mean, just the math for the playoff spots becomes a lot more difficult in that sense. But I'm high on the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks coming out of the NL West.
I'm with you. Yeah, man, the National League. I mean, again, the East, right, with now the Mets having Soto, the Phillies, the Braves. I expect the Nationals to kind of be maybe knocking in on the playoffs a little bit. It's going to be a really good NL this upcoming year. Looking at the American League, obviously the big news, Shane, that we had a couple days ago, Alex Bregman going to the Boston Red Sox. They made some big moves this offseason. Obviously, the trade of Garrett Crochet. Their lineup looks really good now. What do you make of Boston, and how do you think Bregman's going to fit into that lineup?
Yeah, that Bregman signing really capped what I think was a brilliant offseason for the Boston Red Sox. Their win total moved up one game. Nothing else really moved at BetMGM. But that's because most of their upside was already baked in. On the first day of the offseason, I bet 40-1 on the Red Sox to win the World Series because I expected this team to be aggressive in the offseason with a young team that was on the rise. And so they're even at 25-1. I don't hate their upside in a wide open American League. But now I still think this is a playoff team. But rather than bet the minus 125 odds on them to make the postseason, I'd rather bet Alex Cora to win AL Manager of the Year at 7-1. And the math is pretty simple on this one. Since 2012, the last 26 Manager of the Year winners have made the postseason. So making the playoffs is requirement number one. Of those 26, 22 didn't make the playoffs the previous year. So really you have to come almost out of nowhere or unexpectedly. And the Red Sox fit the bill. You could also say the Mariners, the Rangers, and the Twins. Of all those 4 teams, Boston has the best playoff odds of the bunch. So I think Cora, 7-1 to win Manager of the Year, is the best way to bet on the Red Sox at this point.
I like it. Good angle there on the Boston Red Sox, who, they're certainly going to be an intriguing team in that American League. He's Shane Jackson. Make sure you guys give him a follow on X at SJacksonMGM. He's a web content writer for BetMGM. A lot of great stuff from Shane. Shane, appreciate the time, man. We'll talk to you again next Friday. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.